for like 60 years straight. So it's okay to take a year off and breathe.
And that's why I say I wish people would have handled it as that. Just like that right there. Saying, hey, you know, Bill's weighing his options. Y'all come over here. We call it what we call it. And then after all of it said and done, we'll say, hey, you know what? Bill thinks he's just going to take a year off and breathe. Would have been in the same place, and the shine still would have been on Bill, like it's supposed to be. Right?
Okay. And you guys know how I feel. I actually hope he does get another shot a year from now so that we'll close the case that Bill has been overrated, because I don't think he'll do well in his final hurrah.
But if he goes to a Super Bowl, if he goes to another team and he wins a Super Bowl, will you hands down say I was wrong and then spell wrong?
Down. But I will not have to do that because Tom already did that for me when he went to Tampa and did it. Thank you very much, Tom Brady. Okay, we got to get back to now. We got to get back to AFC Championship game. Chiefs, Ravens. I got the Ravens. I got them convincingly. We'll debate next.
No mercy. No mercy. No mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.
This new tent's amazing.
And it was easy to pay off the low rates on their platinum card from maybe Federal Credit Union. Can't imagine where we'd be without them.
Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Well, I see a lot that's wrong with them, Skip, and it starts with the coaching. You always knew that it'd be a transition when you have two coordinators leave for head coaching positions and you try to replace them, but you didn't think it would be this bad. Brian Johnson in this offense has been, for the most part, predictable, which makes it hard to even really highlight your playmakers because you got things happening on offense that the defense knows is coming. Like you can predict these things. This defense of the Arizona Cardinals hasn't been the greatest this season. They got enough playmakers to get the job done offensively. They've run the ball incredibly well all season long. Jonathan Gannon has really committed to the run. You saw it when the Dallas Cowboys played the Arizona Cardinals. They ran the ball, and they ran the ball, and they ran the ball some more.
Yep.
And Kyler Murray made enough plays down the stretch to help them win that ball game. But you would think that the players could overcome this. Yeah, the players could, on defense, they have enough players to overcome the lack of coaching in the transition. They talked about Sean Desai. Maybe he was the issue, and then replaced him with Matt Patricia before the Seattle Seahawks game. And that didn't make a difference. They still ended up giving 35 points up to the Arizona Cardinals. So it doesn't seem like it matters who was calling the plays. I didn't think Matt Patricia was the answer when they made the change. I still don't think he's the answer, and I think the play on the field shows he's not necessarily the answer. But you're concerned because you look at that D-line and you say, hey, if they were young, you would be like, oh, okay, they're getting schemed, they're getting beat. But you got Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, you got Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat. You got guys who played high-level football for a very long time, and I just can't see why they're getting out-schemed in this way. Then you got young guys who are really talented, like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. You got a secondary that is just about the same as last year. I mean, they're missing one huge piece of it that went to Detroit and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But I didn't think that they would go from one of the top pass defenses in the league to 28 in passing. They're amongst the worst in a lot of these statistical categories, and you can't understand it outside of the transition from Jonathan Gannon to these new coordinators.
So, Mike, and for me now, since you talked about Matt Patricia, since he's taken over, they've allowed 17 points in the second half of all of those games. So absolutely, I will point to the defense allowing 17 points and 29 just the other day in the second half. So that's a season high points allowed in the second half. And then you turn around with all of that, Skip, as they move forward. Now, Devontae Smith's walking around now in a walking boot, a little banged up and a little hurt. So now, I right now I put a lot on that defense. I'm surprised at the defense, to be honest with you, because I thought, wow, what a great formula they had. All those great old players, I'd say older players, older veterans that you just mentioned, bringing in all in the Codeine and all of those guys from Georgia that already have a championship pedigree. You don't even have to teach these guys how to play championship football. That's what they've all done at Georgia, and they did it together. I thought this was a great mesh of talent. You're bringing that young talent with this older talent. Man, these guys can be doing this for the next 5-10 years. But I do know the difference that happens when you bring in different coordinators. You know what I mean? Even when I know the difference when it's Noah Turner to the guy, Ernie Zampese, that taught him, and we still go and win a Super Bowl, because that's what they have in Philly right now. But I also know when you go and bring some outside guy in, like a Chan Gailey, and that thing goes a whole another way, because you're like, this dude doesn't even know how to set up this team to win football games. I thought the coordinators that they have would know how to set up that team because they were there to see that team. I also have to give a little bit to Jalen Hurts being injured this year. The run game is not as big of a threat as it was last season, which made everybody play so many people in the box. And then you got these two receivers, two number ones, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, just doing damage to people. So yeah, they're not what they were last year when you see all of that. But I think it all starts on that defense. When teams know they can score on you like that, that puts an enormous amount of pressure on the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. The offense put up 21 first half points the other day, and that was nowhere near enough because of the collapse that defense has suffered the last 3 games.
All right. So the first sign I had that this defense was way overrated came a year ago on Christmas Eve at Jerry World, when pretty much this same defense gave up 40 points and 419 yards to Dak's offense. Now, Jalen didn't play in that game, but he doesn't play safety, as I kept going back and forth with Keyshawn about. And yet, Richard, there's no way your 49ers aren't going to win that game at Philadelphia, the NFC Championship game, if Brock Purdy doesn't go down in the first series with his elbow injury. There's no way. The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. They might have won the Super Bowl over Mahomes, who did not play that well against this torchable.
You love this style of shoe. They're comfortable, casual, stylish. But Skechers has topped them and made them even better, because now they come in hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Just slip in and go with no bending down and no touching them. Try hands-free Skechers slip-ins.
Was defense in the Super Bowl. Mahomes threw for 182 in that game, and it wasn't vintage Mahomes. But the point is, this defense just keeps sliding into the sunset week after week after week. It's now 29th in points allowed in the NFL. Only better than Washington and Arizona and at the very bottom, Carolina. So it's a bottom 4 defense in points allowed. And on offense, it's now 7th in points scored, which is pretty good, but it's fallen all the way to 9th in rushing with Swift as their sort of primary lead back. And remember, 2 years ago, they led the league in rushing. Last year, they were top 5 in rushing, so they've slipped to 9th. So that's not the same. And then in the all-important turnover differential, they're now -7, which is 23rd in the league. So that's pretty terrible, because they have only 17 takeaways on defense, so they don't take the ball away. That ranks 24th. And Jalen has thrown a career-high 14 interceptions. Right. So that's no good. He's 23 to 14.
He wasn't doing that last year. He wasn't doing that last year.
He wasn't doing it. So it's a bad recipe for now disaster. And to Richard's point, late in the game, late in the year, I'd never seen anything like this. The day it happened, I said, I can't imagine that Nick Sirianni just demoted his new defensive coordinator in favor of Coach Pencil. Obviously, Matt Patricia took over for Sean Desai, and it didn't matter. It didn't fix what ailed them, as people thought. And remember, they went and got Kevin Byard, and everybody said, oh, that's the missing piece to the puzzle. And then I had to take a lot of abuse on this show because they went and got Shaq Leonard, who had visited Dallas. I don't even know if Jerry was going to offer or not. I don't know. He didn't offer while Shaq was there. And now it sounded like yesterday, I didn't watch closely because I got afraid to turn the game on because I was afraid I was going to jinx it. But it sounded like Shaq Leonard got pulled from the game at least one time. So I'm not sure he's changed life in Philadelphia. And I kept hearing Jalen Carter's unblockable, and I don't know what happened to that. So they're just a really bad defensive football team that on paper looks like it could be pretty great, but it's not.
Yeah, it's hard because it's just on tape, in person, in the stat sheet, it doesn't look like a confident team. You know, when you're a Super Bowl contender, when you're a contender in December, you got the eyes. Even when you're not going to win it, you got the eyes, you got the look, you got the feel of a contender. And this isn't what they look like. I knew going into the game that it would be shaky because they've been shaky. They haven't looked great in any of these games. They didn't look great against the New York Giants.
They did not.
New York Giants had a Hail Mary chance at the end of the game. Obviously, they were still down 8, but the fact that they even had a chance at all.
Hail Mary, that was from the 26-yard line, so Tyrod was throwing into the end zone to win the game, obviously.
Right. But and this is a team that, you know, has gone through a lot of injuries, a lot of back and forth, a lot of heartache throughout the season, and they're battling you throughout the game. So I knew this Arizona Cardinals team, who shouldn't even be, you know, that's why people are like, NFL's fixed and teams tank. This team should be tanked. They shouldn't be trying to win these games. No. They should be hoping to get the number 2 or higher draft pick. But you know what they're doing? They're playing really hard for a new head coach. They're running the ball well. They're putting together winning habits like the Detroit Lions did last year, late in the year, so that they can carry that over into next year. And so I knew that a team that runs the ball well would give them problems. Obviously, Jonathan Gannon knows this team better than anybody outside of Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni. But I didn't think that they would go in there into Philadelphia and win the game. But you could see once the momentum starts to change in a ball game and you don't have belief, then you start to doubt.
Yeah.
Right. It falls apart really quick.
You know about it. You know about it, Sharon, because, listen, let me tell you what happened to you. And you went for back-to-back. You know what it's like when you're going. You won the first one, it was headed back. I went back-to-back. So, you know, when you win that first time, you come back, you think, well, we still got the same team. And you're going into those games thinking, we can turn this on anytime and take over and win games. And early in the season, Philly was doing that, and I kept saying, hey, they're winning the game. Doesn't matter, they're winning the game. But when things start going bad, I'm going to tell you, man, oh my God. And you start saying, we're going to change it. It'll get fixed next week. It'll get fixed next week. It'll get fixed next week. Around that third, it'll get fixed. If it ain't fixed, you start doubting, oh my God, are we not the same team? And I think I'm seeing that starting to creep in now in Philadelphia. And that's the worst thing that you can take into a playoff because you're going to have doubt into a playoffs.
So I predicted to Keyshawn that Philly would lose one of its last 3 games. It was Giants at home, then Arizona at home, and at Giants to close. And I was right but wrong because it was Arizona that beat Philly. But I have my doubts that Philly can now go to the Giants and win because the Giants should have beaten the Rams yesterday. They had them dead to rights, and Tyrod missed a little pop pass to Saquon, and then Mason Crossbar, as I call him, from doing Dallas in, he missed the field goal that would have won the game at the end of the game. So the Giants are playing at a fairly high level, and the Eagles are not. And the Giants would like nothing better than to send them into the playoffs with another tail between their legs loss.
I can see it. At this point, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It's weird because Philly has the Super Bowl hangover without the Super Bowl, and that's probably the hardest pill to swallow for this team and for this fan base because they felt like they won a Super Bowl. They were treated like all year like they had won a Super Bowl, but they had not, and they still get everybody's best shot. They get everybody's best every week, and then they have the heartbreak of losing a Super Bowl. It's a lot to stack on.
It is.
Not to recover.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.
At Sparklight, the best connections are always there when you need them. Get ultra-fast 300 meg fiber internet for $39.95 a month for 12 months, modem included. Available with intelligent Euro Wi-Fi. Visit sparklight.com/internet for our best offers. Sparklight, always working for you. Stains are certain. So is the power of Tide, with 50% more cleaning power.
He didn't show me anything new. Joe Burrow's been tough.
Yeah.
I knew he was tough when he took 9 sacks, a playoff record, during that Tennessee Titans playoff win that they got on their way to the Super Bowl. I said, this boy keeps getting back up and found a way to win that game. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting sacked 9 times and keep getting back up. That's a beating. That's a heck of a beating to take, and that's just the sacks. That's not even just the quarterback hits and how bruised up he was throughout that game. So I knew after that game, the toughness he had was immeasurable. And so to see him go out in this bowl game and try to push through an injury was very impressive, but it didn't surprise me. He's a tough person. I'm concerned because I've had calf injuries, and a calf injury is really nothing to snuff at. I know people are like, oh, it's just your calf. You feel that every single time you take a step, every time you get out of bed, every movement, every time you plant. And so he's toughing through this, and you hope that it's not as serious as we thought it was, and it was cool to see him out there.
Yeah, it was cool to see him out there, and I'm glad he was able to get out of there healthy. They needed him to play. And the reason they needed him to play was 2 things. One, which is big, but not important. They opened up their Ring of Honor last night. Okay, you don't want to go down to the round and you doing all that sort of loss. On top of that, you don't want to be 0-3. Okay, if you start off at 0-3 with the Cleveland Browns are suddenly looking like they can make some noise in the division, we already know how we feel about Baltimore, and then Pittsburgh ain't gonna go nowhere. So you don't want to wind up starting the season at 0-3.
It's hard to come back.
It's hard to come back. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you get this going on with the coaches and the players and dissatisfaction, and all of a sudden we're losing. So he did the leadership thing despite getting the $270+ million or whatever his contract was. Despite all that, he went out there to make sure that they were not going to go 0-3. So I tip my cap off to them. Now what they've got to do from a medical staff standpoint and a coaching standpoint is he doesn't need to practice all week long. He does not need to practice. Mental reps for him. Pat and go for him. All he needs to do is rehab and mental reps. So the next time he's on the field, there won't be much concern about what could potentially happen to the calf. Although it's still going to be there, like Richard said, it's something that you don't want to have to deal with. But if you take the necessary precaution to make sure that he's continuing, I don't have a problem with him playing if they win the football game. Not at all, Skip.
To me, playing with the calf in the state that he's in doesn't take toughness because it's not that painful. It's just nagging. It actually takes stupidity to play with the calf like that. And that's what he did. But he did it for the right reasons. And they lived to tell. And God bless him. I'm knocking on wood for him. It didn't seem like he tweaked it. There's one play, but it looked like he tweaked one of his ankle and it got caught underneath on a near sack. But he survived it. But now we get to quarterback toughness. And it's hard to gauge because quarterbacks come in so many different packages. And you have to have mental and physical toughness to endure that kind of a beating. Just pointed out when you get sacked 9 times by the Titans. It's not fun to do that. It hurts. Maybe it doesn't hurt exactly the way you got hurt when you got clocked going over the middle.
It hurts no matter how you hit the ground.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Again, maybe you had a more violent collision in the secondary than he suffered in the pocket. It's hard, but usually you could see what was coming. Sometimes he can't see what's coming.
Yeah. You can get hit from the backside in a whiplash standpoint. A guy can tee off on your helmet, even if he doesn't hit helmet to helmet, he can hit you, try to get you. And that power and that blow comes at a different level. Plus, you typically, if I'm being tackled by Richard Sherman is 210 pounds. And let's say I'm being tackled by Richard and the safety, that might be 400 pounds total. They He might be getting hit by two dudes that's over 300. That's 600 pounds plus. So it's a different tackling, so to speak, a different hit, so to speak, a different weight on top of him. He deserves the money that he got. You certainly don't want to see him continue to get beat up. They've got to do some things to protect him up front, whether it's sliding line protection, leaving guys in the chip, whatever the case may be. In the end, he is tough. That's for sure. You got to tip your hat off to him.
But he doesn't look the part of tough off the field.
Well, he's a big guy. He's not small. Yeah, he's taller. And when you talk Tom Brady's big too. Tom Brady's not small.
Yeah.
So, when you're big and you're taking them hits, your body could sustain that more so than a smaller quarterback.
Yeah. All right. So you guys still you prefer Mahomes over Joe Burrow?
Just because I said that, I'm not taking Joe Burrow.
I led you right down the path.
You did not lead me. I just like Joe Burrow's toughness. But Patrick Mahomes was tough too. You do realize he's been out there hobbling around with broken ankles and all type of crazy.
I give you that.
Okay.
Never brought that up. I still take Joe Burrow when he's right, when he's healthy. And I think he's getting healthy.
Again, Cincinnati wouldn't take Joe Burrow over Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, you just
accuracy. Come on.
I can't with this dude, man.
All right.
Can't.
Let's get back to the only team that matters in the National Football League, the Dallas Cowboys. Will their Super Bowl hopes be over if they don't beat the Patriots on Sunday? You can make that case.
What? Super Bowl hopes? Yeah. The wild card playoff.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.
Playing football is rough. My back is off. What do you do to me? You couldn't just maybe play the flute? But since going hands-free with Max Cushion's Skechers slip-ins, my back has no complaints. I just step in and they're on. Try Skechers slip-ins.
Story. I need to break down for you all exactly what's happened to the San Francisco 49ers. Some of it on the field, some of it legitimate tragedy off the field. Not sure if y'all were aware, Trent Williams, starting left tackle for the 49ers, announced, I believe it was the stillbirth of his child. He announced it yesterday. It occurred about 2 weeks ago. That's just one part of the tragedy for the Niners. Starting cornerback Charvarius Ward, he also announced the loss of his 1-year-old daughter, if I'm not mistaken. That occurred a little over around a month ago. So that is what's happened to the Niners off of the field. On the field, Christian McCaffrey, he was put on IR with the PCL injury. Backup running back Mason, he also has gone on IR. Bosa has been hurt. Brock Purdy's had a shoulder. George Kittle, he's had a hamstring. Dre Greenlaw, he's had a tricep. Dre Greenlaw had Achilles. Devon Hargrave had a tricep. Y'all see it in front of you. I mean, the list is like a CVS receipt. It's so long. So the Niners have had a lot go wrong for them this season. They've had injuries, they've had health, they've had family tragedy. So much has gone wrong for the Niners. But in football, again, obviously, you can't point to what's gone wrong. You got to figure out why it's gone wrong. Shady, you played the game for 12 years. You won 2 Super Bowls. You played for some really good teams. On occasion, you had a bad team here or there. So who is to blame for the 49ers disappointment?
A lot of injuries we talked about, right? But I want to go deeper than that, man. I want to go up to the front office, head coach, GM work. I think they got too complacent, right? When I say that, I mean, okay, so every year, either we're in the NFC Championship game or we're in the Super Bowl, right? So when you see yourself as we're just winners, there's some teams you just know that, look, at the end of the year, they're going to be one of the top. And I think they got too complacent where you think about small things like this. CMC, right? Knowing he was injured, knowing how that would go, not really having a real answer for that, right? Because they didn't really have a real answer for him being absent. Brandon Ayuk, instead of getting this deal done early in camp, right, having your number one route runner receiver, thinking that, okay, we'll get it done eventually because we're so good of a team. If he does miss a game or two, we are that good. We'll be okay. And then that didn't go well. Then when he came back, he was rusty. Everybody comes back from holding out in training camp. They always be rusty. It may take 2 or 3 games to get acclimated. But in his case, he kind of got injured doing that. Right? I want to go to Trent Williams. Your best player on offense. Your best player on your team, but now you look at it. And knowing he had a constant situation. Instead of handling that ASAP, getting my team in line, everything we need, you figure, well, we got Kyle Shanahan, he's the best offensive play caller in the league. One of them, we'll be okay. We win games on defense, we win offense, we'll be all right. And you don't take care of Trent. And that takes him a couple games to get acclimated, get back in the flow. And I think once everything started falling down, what do we do? Greenlaw's a really, really good player.
He is.
His absence, you can see it. Instead of having a real answer, you didn't. You just pluck somebody in there because you think that our team is so good that we'll be okay. And when you don't handle everything from the top to the bottom, this is what happens. Now you get these injuries. Now guys not really ready to play, not forced to play. And if you'd have took care of these things in the off season, maybe Brown wouldn't have got hurt. Maybe he'd have been ready to play. Maybe Trent Williams would have been in shape and been ready to roll. But when you think these guys hold out, that's what happens. So I think they got too complacent.
That's well said. Jay, what you think?
First off, prayers up to all the dudes.
Yeah,
sure. That's the ones that lost the Vegas. That's tough. Well, number one, you got to start with the head coach. The head coach is the leader of the ship, right? Ain't no season perfect. Somebody always gonna get injured. You know, you guys remember when we sit in the team meeting before training camp and they going through all the, hey, this is what the IR look like, and everybody's sitting there like, man, they ain't gonna be me. And the trainers is up there like, a lot of y'all gonna be up in this IR, you know, in the training room. That's just the name of the game of football. So injuries is gonna happen. And as a head coach, it's your job to try to keep the team afloat when injuries happen. It's injuries on every single football team, and it's your job to do that. Kyle Shanahan this year has not done a good job. Years past, he's done a good job. We've talked about injuries for the Niners for the last 10 years, and they've been in the NFC Championship and Super Bowl games. But to me, too, though, this is football, man. This is just sometimes how seasons go.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody in the world would have told me you guys are going to win the Super Bowl in 2011. You're going to have 17 starters hurt. You're going to have everybody on your football team be a young player, ain't up for no contract, and you will not get back to another one with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. And we ain't touching it. Strictly because that is football. That is why what the Kansas City Chiefs and Tom Brady did is so impressive. Because it is hard to consistently win and get to those games. Because you're gonna battle injuries, you're gonna battle a bunch of different stuff. It's hard to get to those games. This is what the Niners have experienced this year. It's hard to win football games. It's hard to stay healthy. It's hard to be good for a very long time at an elite level. And that's what they experienced. It's a bad year. It's a bad year, and it happens like that.
And that's sitting there just saying, yeah, and all that. For 80% that was correct. The last part about, it was a great take to the Aaron Rodgers part. When you got great quarterbacks, so they don't just go to one of them, right? I'm not tripping. I'm not gonna say this. I'm just saying, but like I just don't like when y'all just like.
But isn't that the point though? Of like because Pat and Brady are so good.
That's why I said it's special.
Like,
what they doing. But what I'm saying is, the part with Aaron, you should have said nah. You should have said yeah, because I said it's special what they doing. It wasn't special what we did.
Yeah.
So I sort of agree with you, Jake. I definitely agree. You said they're too complacent. I don't know if they're so much complacent as in just it's football. Like, do you know how hard? Maybe you don't, but it is very difficult to have sustained success in this league, and not only sustained success. Right, 19, you go to the Super Bowl. 2020 was your one down year. This is what this year reminds me of. They were 6-10, quarterback issues that year, injury issues this year, and then in 21 and 22 you go back to the NFC Championship game. 23, you get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, this sustained success is insane. So for me, I think it falls on everyone, but also like at the end of the day, it's football. Like you're going to have up and down years no matter what. And it's interesting to me this year because they have the fourth oldest roster in the NFL right now, an average age of 28 years old.
Hey neighbor, you switched to T-Mobile home internet yet? Trim your hedge. It's $35 a month with no price hikes. Bam! T-Mobile 5G home internet. Just $35 a month. And with Priceline, we won't raise your rate on internet.
They're the fourth oldest. You look toward next year. It's like, what are they going to look like, right? Like, we know what went wrong this year. It's just like, in my opinion, it's football. But you look toward next year, right? It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it this offseason. And it just seems this year is like the vibes are bad from. You didn't say Crystal got shot. Like, did we think about like all these off-season issues that just sort of make the vibes in the locker room bad, and for some reason, you have all these injuries plus that. That's what I blame this season. I don't blame it on one person. Right? ultimately the GM and the head coach need to hear it because that's just what they'll do. And at the end of the year, Kyle Shanahan will come up with something more fun, and they're going to be back in the Super Bowl next year. Like it's just, I don't think their window's closing either. I know this is part of the question, but the disappointing season for me is just like chalk it up to football.
I got an answer, but most importantly, I got a question for all y'all because here's the dilemma. If I'm a viewer at home, if I'm y'all, because I'm currently listening to everything y'all are saying, there's tension with what y'all are saying. Because when you go to the doctor, 2-5, James Jones, Chase, myself, you at home, if you go to the doctor and you ask them what's wrong, and they can't tell you what's wrong, then you don't know how to fix it. And right now, so much of what y'all are saying isn't necessarily blaming anything. Y'all are just saying, it's football. It's football. I agree with y'all. I played the game clearly in less time than y'all, but it's football. But if you can't tell me, Shady, exactly what happened, then how can I fix what happened?
First of all, let me say this. I'm not mad at CeeDee Lamb for staying home. No, I'm just not. I get it. $17 million, but there's other receivers in the same category as you that double your salary that you're supposed to make this year. So when you look at that, I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt as a team because you know the parameters, you know where we need to start, and you know where we need to get to. With that being said, I don't know what Jerry them. I have no idea what Jerry and Steven and the rest of the people in Dallas are thinking about. Because when you think about what CD has done numbers wise, okay, Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, Randy Moss, CeeDee Lamb. That's
You just said that. You just went there. You just put him in that conversation.
When you look at the first 4 years of one career,
I'm with you.
There's the numbers that speak to you. You pay him. You don't even think about what it is because the parameters have already been set. The blueprint is there. Now, if you want to say, well, we want to give you 101 instead of 102, okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do. But we're going to start with Justin Jefferson, stop that. And then we're going to go from there. And if you don't want to meet my standards and where I want to be, then fine, I'll stay home. You figure it out with Brandon Cooks and whoever else you got on the roster into such due time. Because one of the things that I like is a guy like CeeDee Lamb has made some money. He's gotten some money. So it's not like he's going to starve to death, right? Now you say, well, he's missing out on so much money, $17 million. True, but he's going to make a whole lot more money. What his strategy should be, and probably is, and I don't know, is he's at the last year of his contract. So accredited seasons for a free agency is very important. When I played, it was you needed 6 games to get accredited season. Now I think they dropped it down to like 3. As long as you're on the active roster and participating in 3 games, you get that accredited season. So he can sit tight for 14 games, come in with 3 games to go a la Joey Galloway, Seattle Seahawks, and then what you going to do? You're going to eventually either trade him or pay him, if that's the case. He doesn't have to sit out the entire season at all. And at some point, I believe they'll get the deal done. I think at some point they'll get it done because when you got guys like St. Brown, Amara making 30, Tyreek Hill 30 plus, he's getting ready to renegotiate his deal. Then you got Justin Jefferson in the 30, AJ Brown in the 30 club. There it is. It's right here. What is there to think about, Rachel?
I think before those guys set the market, the Cowboys should have gotten this done. I just don't understand what they are doing here. You need CeeDee Lamb on your team this season. You just do. And by the way, him missing training camp, it's not just lost money out of his pocket, it's lost time with the rest of the team. We've had guys who missed all of training camp. Nick Bosa did it last year. And he said it affected him a little bit in terms of, especially the first month or 2 of the season, he was thinking too much out on the field because he didn't have that muscle memory. So they're costing themselves in all kinds of ways. We know they're gonna sign him. They could have gotten this done at the very beginning of the offseason and gotten a discount. Once Jefferson's at the market, then all of a sudden, you've got CeeDee who's going to want to come in right under it. And we've seen it.
I ain't coming in under.
Oh, you think CeeDee Lamb's coming in over?
The last guy. Who's the last guy? That's all I care about. Is Justin Jefferson. His number starts here. This is where we start. I feel I'm better than him. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
He can make a case he's more important to the Cowboys than Jefferson is to his team, right? To the Lakers, right? So I get it. I would say if he came in slightly under, that's still a win for him. The point is that the Cowboys, and Skip, you know this better than anyone, they've done this over and over. They let a guy hold out, they let it go down to the wire, and they end up giving him money anyway. Just last season, Zach Martin held out for a new deal. He was eventually the fourth highest paid offensive guard in the entire NFL. That's how much money they were giving him. They could have just done that to beginning with. Yeah. And Ezekiel Elliott, of course, the most famous example, walked away, held out, right, and had one of the largest running back contracts ever to be signed at the time. And you can talk about his value as that contract wore on. But the bottom line is they knew they were going to have to pay him, and they let him hold out anyway. I just don't understand the strategy.
So,
It's stuffed crust pizza and wings. 16 boneless wings and pizza.
get both, starting at $19.99.
You did grow up in the Washington area as a fan of that team.
Yes.
That used to be called that name.
Yes.
That each of us, we can't let it go because we grew up with it.
Grew up watching it.
So your passion for that team matches my passion for my team.
Yes.
I started when I was 10 years of age because they just got born at that point. And yes, I'm here to tell you right here, right now, this team and this owner is making it harder and harder for me to continue to root for this team, starting with down 27-0 in a home playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. I still have not recovered from that moment that Michael Irvin probably has not recovered from either, as you so beautifully paint the picture of.
It was nice hanging out with him.
It was. You had a good time that day because he had one of the worst times of his cowboy-loving life along with me. And then the off-season came, and it went. And it got more and more painful by the day. And never has there ever been a more misleading quote that came out of one man's mouth than Jerry saying, "We're all in" at the early stages of the offseason. And they are all out. And they're making a lot of fans about to be all out on trying to root for this team because there's less and less to root for. So it's almost as if my Dallas Cowboys are operating with about half the salary cap of all the other teams, as if Roger Goodell has penalized Jerry for being Jerry, and you only have half the cap. That's how he operates, because I'm saying, wait, we went out and got Aaron Kendricks, the immortal Aaron Kendricks, for $3 million. And then we brought back what's left of Ezekiel Elliott for $2 million. And that's it, man. And I have to sit day after day and come out here and face you day after day after the Eagles go get him. And then they go get him, and then they go get him, and then they sign him and sign him and sign him and sign him and him and him. And they're all signed. Every Eagle, as you correctly point out daily to me, is signed, sealed, and delivered. They have no negotiation issues at all with anybody. And they have dramatically, through free agency and the draft, improved their football team.
On paper,
it's really good on paper. And I got it. It's on paper. But on paper right now, it looks way better than my team looks, because my team's starting not to look that much better than your young team, upcoming team with your young quarterback.
Promising.
Right?
But you don't want one to be a Super Bowl contender to be promising.
You don't. Okay, I got you. But now, look, am I okay with Micah's deal being on the back burner? I'm okay with that, because